Hello, I'm coming at you right now from my buddy George's new Toyota pickup. And this thing is more than just a pickup. This thing's a rig. And there's a very, very important distinction between a pickup and a rig. Now, first of all, this thing's been taking off some pretty sweet jumps. Let's see, it's got a Grant steering wheel, which is a requirement. You have unidentified liquid or something smeared all over the cover for the cluster there. No cup holders, because all of your beers are supposed to be shotgunned and thrown directly into the bed of the truck so that they can fly out while you're driving. It smells like a junkyard car in here. Probably partially because there's about a half quart of oil spilled on that seat there. Plenty of missing trim. That's gone. Torn seat. That's a very important part of a rig. Most importantly, it's been spray painted. And it looks terrible. So he's gonna have me paint this thing with Rustoleum, because you generally can't just throw your automotive paint over Rustoleum because it'll react, because the Rustoleum is oil based. They don't jive. And I've been excited to do this because I've wanted to paint something with Rustoleum for a while, but I personally think going with this, like a single stage paint or some sort of cheap automotive paint, is a better way to go. Here's another important part of a rig: mismatched tailgate. Also, no tailgate handle, and the linkage is just missing on one side, so that's pretty sweet. But yeah, I think generally going with a single stage or just cheap base coat, clear coat system is generally the way to go when you're painting a truck or any vehicle, really. But this thing's been spray painted, so gotta go with Rustoleum unless I want to strip all this off, which I don't. So anyway, I'm gonna pull this into the little tent thing I got, and I'm gonna scuff it down with some 400 grit and get started on painting it. Before you get started painting with any gun, you need to clean it, and this one you definitely need to clean it. So I don't know if you can see in there. There's a ton of just gunk where the paint goes down in there. And then if you take this off, there's straight up metal shavings. But yeah, there's metal shavings like all on the inside of this nozzle and everything, so you gotta thoroughly clean this, because that will either clog up orifices in the gun and then your paint will spray like crap, or that stuff's just gonna end up in your paint, which is also no good. First impressions of this gun, other than having to clean it as you would with any gun, it's just especially bad on this gun. The trigger, tons of play in it, back and forth, so I think I'm gonna try and put some little shims up in here to make it so that doesn't move around as much. And on the back side of here, I mean, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's just super chintzy, but I mean, this gun is 25 bucks, so whatever. There's this little pad on the back here that I think is just supposed to kind of dampen the feeling of the metal from this rod hitting the back of the trigger. But it's not even like glued in place or anything. And literally there's just these two little, I don't know if it'll focus on it. This dang camera. There's two little nipples on the back of it. I zoom in. Yeah, I don't know, you can kind of make, there you go. There's two little nipples in it. And it just rests on there. So this could just fall out while you're using the gun. But I mean, no big deal. The quality control is also crap. This lock nut thing here on the back of the fluid adjustment knob was machined crooked. Why can I not? Oh, there we go. So this, how does this consistently focus on the wrong thing? So this lock nut right here, it was machined crooked, I think. It was threaded crooked, so as you spin it back, yeah, I mean, you can see that. It's not flush. So when I go to lock this in place, it's just going to be one portion. Yeah, you can see this sitting crooked on there. So this top part right here is holding it in place. I mean, whatever, but just chintzy. Very cheap gun. I don't know if the quality honestly is any better than that purple gun, which costs like half as much, but maybe it sprays better. I don't know. Haven't used it yet. Get out of here. Oh. Alright, here's the truck about 15 hours later. It's the following day. Tons of orange peel in this paint. I think the camera's picking that up pretty good. It's like this all over. Tons of orange peel. Now, the gun was sputtering pretty bad the whole time. I don't know if it's just my gun being kind of defective or what. I don't know if the gun normally sprays like this. I see some people get decent results with the gun, but mine was not doing well. This paint here is still relatively tacky. I used paint thinner to thin it, which Rustoleum says not to do, but they say to use acetone. I've heard acetone kind of gets rid of some of the glossiness, and a lot of people get good results with thinner, so that's what I used. But paint thinner apparently does take longer to dry, so it is what it is. Rustoleum definitely takes longer to dry than regular automotive paint. So, one of the drawbacks. I might either spray another layer of paint on this with my Eastwood gun, and hopefully it'll kind of even this out, or I may just end up waiting like a week, because this stuff seriously takes forever to dry, even with the hardener I used. I may end up just coming back like next weekend and wet sanding all this, and then polishing it out. Either way, it looks a heck of a lot better than it did before. Like this fender right here was all rusty. I think the person who painted it last, I think it may have been down to bare metal because I never saw primer when I was sanding it down. I think they just sprayed Rustoleum straight over that with no primer, and so it just rusted right through. This rust hole here is looking pretty good, huh? Overall, it looks way better than it did before. Not really disappointed with the results, but... Alright, so some final thoughts. That paint gun, I think, was defective some way or another. The way it was spraying was just weird. It never got better. I don't know. So that's kind of unfortunate, since it's a big part of the reason I was making this video. Whatever. One thing I noticed, the finish is rubbing off underneath the cap. So just, after cleaning it and everything, the green finish on the gun is actually coming off, so that could end up in your paint or clogging up one of the orifices and making your gun just spray like crap. It had all that weird gunk all over it, under like where the reservoir goes. There were those metal shavings. Really had to clean it good. I mean, you want to clean any gun before you use it, like I said, but just weird stuff. The orange peel was pretty bad, but that I think is probably just because that gun was defective. I've seen people get pretty decent finishes with it. I tried spraying anywhere from like 20 to 40 psi with that thing. It didn't seem to make any difference. I brought the gun back, didn't seem to do anything. I don't know if you guys have any suggestions on what I can do next time, because that's only my second time painting anything. I'm pretty new to this. If you have any suggestions, let me know. The fan adjustment did nothing. I brought it all the way in to try and spray like deep into a crevice on the truck, kind of. Brought it all the way in. Fan pattern was still super wide, so that was unfortunate. My Eastwood LT100 gun that I bought was 75 bucks. I would probably spring for something like that. It's not a whole lot more expensive, but I get it. If you're just using this gun for stuff around the house or whatever, it'll probably work fine. I know Astro has also gotten good reviews. Some of their guns, pretty good for being on a budget. I know there are some YouTube videos on them. I've never shot with one, but I've heard good things. The gun just felt super cheap, like I said before. My Eastwood, I mean, it just feels better. It's hard to explain, I guess, until you hold two of them. The adjustments were easier to dial in on the Eastwood. When I first started painting my pickup, when I was painting it blue, I was getting some orange peel and stuff, and increasing the pressure a bit, moving back, just spraying differently. I was able to really make that orange peel better. Granted, that's different paint, but just it was easy to figure out how to paint with it. A lot easier to figure it out. So I don't know if the Harbor Freight gun, if it was working correctly, would be the same, but it's just a lot easier to use, and it felt a lot better using a slightly more expensive gun. So that's probably what I would do, but again, if you're on a crazy tight budget, it is what it is. As for the Rustoleum, it's not a whole lot cheaper than just getting a gallon kit on eBay of some solid color, or from, I think Summit sells paint, and maybe like Jags. You can order local paint stores. They probably have cheap paint too. Before I had painted anything, I was under the impression that like a urethane paint job was significantly more expensive than it can be. You can spend a ton of money on paint, but they also have inexpensive options too. So if you're just trying to save, or if you're under that impression that you're gonna have to spend $500 a gallon on paint, you don't necessarily have to. I do think there are some instances where Rustoleum makes sense. Like this truck was already painted with Rustoleum. You can't put anything, well, you most likely can't put anything over Rustoleum that's not oil based, or else it'll react. It's reacted in my experience. It happened on my pickup's hood. It just gives you a terrible finish and it'll like peel up and stuff. So that's one instance where it makes sense. If it's already covered in Rustoleum and you don't want to strip all of that off because it takes a ton of time, just spray some Rustoleum on there. This truck's going to be used off-road if you have an off-road vehicle and you're going to scratch it a lot. Kind of makes sense too because you can get this paint anywhere. Like if you get a fat scratch or something or a scrape on the paint, you can just swing by Home Depot, Lowe's, any hardware store, pick up some more of it. Super simple. Let's see. Oh, it's taking forever to dry. Even with hardener. I used some, I think it was Krylon hardener. And it's what, 2 days later and it's still, like I can't sand it. Or I probably can't without gumming up my sandpaper a bunch. You can use a Japan dryer, I've heard. I've never used it. I might use it next time because this is kind of ridiculous how long this takes to dry. When I painted my pickup with urethane paint, you know, within a few hours maybe, it's, you know, close to being able to sand it. It's been days and this thing is still not ready. I thought the hardener that I bought, and I mixed some of that in there with the paint every time. I thought it would help it harden faster or dry faster. So I didn't really want to, you know, go full tilt and throw Japan dryer and hardener in there and then have it dry way faster than I wanted it to. But next time I might do that because it just takes forever. So, dude, someone keeps messing with my notes. Every time I take notes, I swear, I turn the page. I'm just gonna have to end the video there. And once this paint finally dries, I'm gonna come back, wet sand it with some 2000 grit sandpaper and polish it out. Make a video of that. I'm sure it'll turn out decent even with this orange peel, but sorry. Someone just keeps screwing everything up for me.